Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to John Dudley Speaks. I'm your host of the free U2 album that's still on everyone's phones. Dublin, Ireland native and son of U2's Bono, Eli Hewson, met his bandmates at St. Andrews College in the 2010s, performing live and eventually naming themselves Inhaler, prior to releasing their first single, I Want You, in 2017. Amazing song, by the way. And the Stone Roses influences were pretty hefty, evoking a tinge of Manchester in the midst of its modern alternative rock foundations. Numerous touring spots and public appearances over the course of a couple years led to It Won't Always Be Like This, the band's debut album, released on Polydor in 2021. At times blending stadium pomp with indie angst, it's an interesting invitation into the band's direction, informing where they would go on 2023's Cuts and Bruises. Still rough around the edges, their sophomore record captures a strongly melodic undercurrent that ironically captures a U2 adjacent grandness, particularly on one of my favorite alt-rock gems of the last decade, If You're Gonna Break My Heart. So now with this February's Open Wide, has Inhaler finally sanded off the patches that don't work and streamlined their identity? You could confidently say that, because this is clearly their most meaningful album yet, and just genuinely a really great alternative rock record. Produced by famed British songwriter Kid Harpoon, who has worked with everyone from Florence and the Machine, Harry Styles on his Grammy-winning Harry's House, and its big lead single As It Was, and even Miley Cyrus on her Billboard smash Flowers. This couldn't be a better fit for Inhaler. The driving beat of Eddie in the Darkness, and its grand echoing keys that perfectly juxtapose the main guitar riff, is an example of Kid Harpoon's ability to segment out elements of the production to the artist's advantage, and the mix on Billy is so damn clean in its transitions and escalations of dynamics, with Eli's backing vocals sliding into the fray effortlessly. Plus the climbing rhythm guitar passages that hold the song down like a fulcrum just as much as the drums are excellently blended with the lead's melodies to build to a really uplifting culmination. The blues rock swing of Your House benefits from a wall of background chorus vocals that fill out this production much like a Noel Gallagher's High Flying Bird song would, but it's that injection of piano chords that levitated above a usual rock cut into something that's more maximal and grandiose. Kid Harpoon also kills it on A Question of You, with the 1975 reminiscent guitar quirks that lend a funk rock tilt to the track, yet surprisingly still doesn't dull Inhaler's identity, as the rousing pre-chorus contains a rugged DIY quality to it, one that's full of infectious, raw guitar whines. The semi-pop rock of Again feels like a modern, softer take on Fake Plastic Trees that totally clicks in its patient vibe setting. And maybe while I didn't care for the Mumford & Sons style aesthetics of the title track, and while the soft rock of The Charms and All I Got Is You is too much of a mixture of John Mayer indie folk and The Weeknd pop. Not entirely a bad thing, it is pretty cool. I really can't complain because the production here is incredibly complementary to Inhaler's talent. Still Young made me feel like I was listening to early 90s U2, like Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses, and legitimately its stark composition and echo-friendly vocals nearly made me shed a tear because that's one of my favorite records of all time. Special work like this doesn't come often, and Kid Harpoon and Inhaler really create magic on the instrumental side of this album. Eli labeled Open Wide his quarter-life crisis project, and the themes surrounding much of the tracks here certainly reflect that, with the ambivalence towards commitment and growing up to experience frustration of day-to-day life. Hewson, Keating, Jenkinson, and McMahon all share writing credits on this record, as they did on their previous albums, and because of that, it really feels like a group effort from them to paint a clear picture of modern zillennial struggles. Can't be old if we don't want to be grown is a strong central lyric on A Question of You that pulls on this thread of aging, but I really think the pop sensibilities and the subtle country folk of The Charms is some of the best songwriting on here. The band speaks of a very particular type of jealousy that is often paired with something such as growing up and actually thinking about settling down, as Eli talks about wanting someone more now that he sees that someone else wants them, presenting a very nuanced conflict. I do feel like the chorus of the title track is a little clunky, and there's a thin quality to the songwriting on Concrete and Little Things, especially in their verses, but overall the song structures are proficiently built to emphasize mood overall. So Inhaler accomplishes their objective of crafting relatable insight into such a confusing time of our collective existence. I'll I'll say it right off rip, Eli sounds so much like his dad in some moments of this record, and I'm sure he can't help it, but man, I seriously thought it was late 80s, early 90s Bono, due to the richness and the ability to slip into a belted run. But that being said, the band makes this their own through ingenuity in their approach to their brand of indie rock, emulating Oasis, Radiohead, the Stone Roses, but layering on a pop rock sheen akin to Haim or Bleachers. The rhythm section is really held down by the throbbing, far-reaching bass lines from Robert Keating. Eli's rhythm guitar chord progressions are understated and tranquil, and Ryan McMahon's drum passages are powerful, booming, and emphatic. And all this talent on display in the rhythmic foundations is complemented brilliantly by Eli's lead vocals and Josh Jenkinson's confident lead guitar parts, namely on Eddie in the Darkness, Your House, and X-Ray. Yet where they're able to synthesize their approach are in the softer moments, like Billy, Still Young, and The Charms, which opt to push their arena rock blend into new directions that are admirable and surprising. With 13 tracks and 48 minutes under its belt, Open Wide is the longest Inhaler record yet by a hair, and while its pacing is similar to their other records, the hit rate here is so much more consistent. Kicking off with a propulsive rocker like Eddie in the Darkness that's urgent and slick, the album's front half really moves, with Billy landing an emotional punch really early in the track listing, while Your House and A Question for You keep the energy at an intoxicating high, due to the former's rollicking groove and the latter's soothing melodies. The midsection of this record is where the band hits a snag, even with the soaring again and its adopting of mid-90s Radiohead aesthetics, because the title track is slightly overblown and meandering. However, the last leg of this record takes some unexpected turns, with Still Young turning out to be one of the best Inhaler songs yet, its mellower presentation amounting to a euphoric climactic moment in the progression of the album. With that and the rockier cuts like X-Ray and Concrete towards the back end of the record, Inhaler sticks the landing, as they make an authoritative case for being one of the most talented indie rock bands of the 2020s decade. Open Wide is the best Inhaler album so far, and it's indicative of a truly bright future for these Dublin rockers. A future where they'll produce even better works, I'm sure. The lyricism is focused and heartfelt, the instrumentals are finely tuned, and it's all put together in a cohesive package, and has a ton of upside in the ability to connect to others, much like the bands that inspired them. But hey, that's just my perspective. If you're an Inhaler fan, you're gonna love this album. And if you're looking for a tight-knit alt-rock winner that finds excellent mixtures of its 90s rock influences, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this one. Alright, that's all I got. Bye!